Okay, this is going to be the YouTube video for the Evo Elite. So that's Ghost Evo Elite 3.5. It's the whole trigger kit. So what is that? It's the connector. This is the original one, but it'll look a lot like this, a little bit like this. And it's a whole load of springs, which I haven't done yet. So first, to give you a quick overview, this is my general work area. Yep, kitchen table with a dirty, filthy towel. It's real armor someplace that are just cringing. Get some kind of tray to put parts in, otherwise they tend to roll away, and then you just got more to do. A lovely Glock case. Get a tablet or something so you can just keep watching YouTube, which you're probably doing now. Paper towels, just to take off grease as we go. Lovely Harbor Freight files. Yeah, you're all cringing already. They're actually useful a little bit. The files you're going to be using are pretty fine. This one isn't. This one is, and this is the one I actually wound up using. What else? A decent flashlight. Not sure what this is, but it's a decent flashlight. With a crappy switch. A Sharpie. You're going to need that because you're going to be doing some filing. And of course, the Glock tool. Okay, here's the routine. You're going to be taking the gun apart a good number of times. I'm going to try and show you a way to limit that. So let's do first things first, the glorious safety checks. There's no magazine, so that makes that part easy. Nothing in the chamber. Pointed in a safe direction. Squeeze the trigger. Come back a little bit. And the slide comes off. I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to put this down. I'll show you the first part first. Might as well do this first because otherwise you're going to forget. Glock, left to its own, comes with this in there, which is great, and you're going to put it back when you're done. But you'll get this little clear back plate, and it's got to be installed. And why has it got to be installed? Because it leaves room underneath, because as you know, in order to get this slide off while you're fitting all this stuff, you'll have to dry fire the gun. As you know, with a Glock, if you can't dry fire the gun, you can't get the slide off. That's why you need this little thing here. If you don't have this, and the slide gets stuck on the gun, you can bring the slide back, lock it back. You can lock it back, and then, if you had this in, you knock it out. It's a big pain in the chops. Better to get this thing, and I'm going to show you how it helps you in a bit. Okay, so here's the steps. Well, once I get the slide off. Once I really get the slide off. You're going to, can you zoom in right here? Nudge this up a little bit. There's like a little spacer in there. You're going to push it down, and you're going to slide this part out. And then you're going to do the same thing. Push it down again, slide this one in. Am I going to show it in all its glorious detail? Nah. There's a great YouTuber, Humans for Targets 2. I'll drop the name in. I think it's Humans for Targets 2. So Humans, the number 4, Targets, and the number 2. I'll post it someplace in the video. He's got a really, really good video on how to break all of this down, how to put this in, and how to break the whole pistol down. Good watching. Watch it 2 or 3 times and you'll have a clue. So, assuming you've already put this in, and he's the best video to watch for that, you're going to put this aside now. Now this part, put it down that way so it's kind of aiming to your left. All the pins go out that way and they come back in this way. First pin to take out, the little one on top. Give it a little nudge. Comes right out. Put it in your little tray. Take the next pin out. This pin holds this. You notice how it's a little loose right now? The first pin we took out holds this thing. Block. You got to get it out then. And it's a pain in the butt to get out. No, we'll get to it in a second. In order to get this pin out, I tried wailing on it. Don't do that. Instead, jiggle this. It should come out pretty easily. Jiggle, you're pushing down, forward, jiggle, 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 boop, comes right out. You like the sound effects? It's good times. Throw that pin in there. At this point, this, back a little bit, out it comes out. This spring sits on this pin. So imagine it in there. So you never want to put this pin in first and then this one. It'll smash into the spring. Always top pin, which is the block pin. That's the one that always comes out first, goes in first. You see me taking it apart like I'm all confident. The first time I took it apart, I was quite hesitant. But this is the advantage of doing this thing on your own. You'll do this a good 5-10 times, you will get quite used to it. I think that's kind of cool. Third pin to come out. This is what holds in the whole trigger group. It's a plastic pin. If you've done what I did, where you put on the larger back strap, this is a Gen 4, you've already taken this pin out once. Give it a little nudge. Out it comes. More sound effects, good times. Take it out. I usually grab it by this little bit back here. It seems like a convenient grabbing place. Out comes the whole trigger group. Woo! Don't panic. That's it. The gun's pretty much plastic and little bits of metal here. One other thing that could come out is the slide release. Again, humans for targets too. The guy's got a great video on how to rip all that out. I'm not going to bother. Can't improve on perfection. He's already got a great video. Okay, the piece, as you can see, I've already replaced it. But I'm going to show you how to take it off. The connector. And here's my method. Apparently here's the correct method. The butter knife, as you'll see in 1 or 2 videos, is not the correct method. Great Glock armors, I don't think, keep a butter knife on the table. But I do have a kitchen table here, so maybe it's possible. The magic Glock tool goes into the other side. Pins on this, this is a connector, and this is the thing we're going to be replacing. Put the Glock tool on the other side, give it a little nudge. Doot, 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 doot. Nudge some more. Doot, 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 doot. At the same time, you're kind of turning this. Can you see that? Out she comes. Take your Glock tool out. Now, this is what was in there. This is the Glock 5.5 pound or whatever it is. This is what I put in. Sorry about that. This is the Evo Elite. A little bit different than the Rocket. Specifically different in it's got this thing. So I'm going to throw this outside. We're not using that anymore. Evo Elite. When you put this in, this part here is going to be longer. So it's going to be longer this way. And your gun won't fire initially. You'll have to take it all apart again, and you'll start the laborious process of filing this down. If you don't like the idea of keep filing, putting it together, filing, putting it together, Ghost has drop-in trigger connectors. You won't have to do any filing. The filing is supposed to make it like perfect, but I'll get more into that. Here's what you need to do to file it. This is the trick of the day, and I had to take off a lot. Some people said they had to do 20 times. I didn't have to do that many times. If you take off too much, you're just going to get more back travel of the trigger after it lets loose of the firing pin. So you can't break this, but the more precise you get with it, the cleaner the trigger pull will be. Or at least it won't go back as far. So here's my method for doing this, and I got this from other YouTubers. Make a mark with a Sharpie. Tough to see on the camera, but it's there. And I make a mark on this side, over here, and I make the same mark on the back ear. You try and make them all the same thickness. Well, at least the one on the front back. Then you're going to take a file, and here was my routine. I put the file down on the table, on the edge of the table, and went back and forth. Why aren't I doing it now? Well, because I already filed it down enough to make it fit. Now, here's the step that's going to save you effort. taking the gun apart 20 times, I would say after the first 3 times, 4 times, you've kind of gotten the hang of it. So I don't see any advantage to taking it apart 20 times. This is the trick. I'm calling it a trick, but it's on the Glock, on the Ghost website, so I don't know how much of a trick it really is. I'm going to put this back together. I put it in over here, and now I'm kind of gotten this bent, and I'm going to try and like pivot the two of them together. Now, can you zoom in a little bit on this? Make sure this is against there. So basically they're together nice. There's a little lip there, and you want to make sure that the trigger bar is kind of under it. This looks relatively straight. Look, you don't want it to look like that. That would mean no good, fix it. Nudge it in place and hold it, squeeze it, because that's what the body of the gun is usually doing. Squeeze it so it looks relatively straight in there. Kind of feels good. Look on this side. When I started off, let me get a little pointer. When I started off, this piece of metal, which is actually a part of the trigger, was more over here. No good. Ghost says it. If it's over here at all, the gun ain't gonna fire. So mine was way over. So I should have taken the hint. I got to file a lot off, but I was afraid. So now you don't have to be afraid, because I kind of sucked it up for us all. You can take off quite a bit and keep on just test fitting it in your hand and looking to see how far this is into this channel. It shouldn't be here. It should be in this bigger area over here. If you see it's a lot in here, you still got more filing to do. Once you think, I think I'm just about there, that's when you start playing the game. Don't wait until it's all the way in here. You kind of took off too much. You didn't wreck the gun, but you took off too much. Wait till you think it's borderline close. And that's when you're gonna take it, kind of squeeze it together, drop the trigger part into like the little trigger slot, and drop all of this into where it goes. You push it down in there. Another YouTuber said, listen for the click. Mine don't click. But as it turns out, it's still fine. So I push that down in there. Kind of want to make sure everything's lined up nice. My next step, you're going to put it all back together. Is this the final time I'm putting it together? Chances are no. You're going to do this whole process at least 3 or 4 times. But that's cool. That's how you learn how to use the gun. I put the block back in, because remember what I said. The block and the block pin are the first things to take out and first things to put back. Put the gun how you drove the pins out, but this time we're going to put them back in from whence they came. Metal pin goes in there. Give it a little nudge. Most of this stuff should go in by hand. Little nudge, it'll click. Bingo, that one's in. Is it precise yet? Don't worry about that. It's close enough. Next thing to go in. The slide catch. It's got a little spot that it fits in kind of underneath the block. And if you need to see, don't force it. It's not a forcey thing. Nothing on this gun is a forcey thing. Now, if you can, I'm going to try my best. I don't know if you can catch that. This, see how it moves around? If the pin's not going in easily, it means you need to jiggle this around a little bit. So I'm taking the big pin, see it's got 2 little grooves on it, starting it from whence it came, and jiggle, 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 jiggle. That was just me pushing it with my finger. That's it. If you start wailing on this thing, like initially I had this and I was hitting it with something, no, don't do that. It's not a force fit, it's more like a snap fit. Now it's in nice. We got one more pin to put in. This one's actually the most annoying. It's a plastic pin. Sorry, polymer. If it's not going in easily, I try flipping it over, but I think it's the same width on both sides. You just kind of jiggle it, jiggle it. If I have to jiggle this thing for 20 minutes, it's going to be embarrassing. But I find this is the toughest one to put in. Once it starts going, I use the groove side. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but that's what I do. Boop, push it down. Use the back of it to give it a little It's not all the way in. Who cares? Close enough, because you're going to be taking it apart again. Give it a look. Everything kind of looks like where it's supposed to be. You're going to put the slide back on. First thing, make sure it's on the right groove. Not that first one, the second one. If you've taken the Glock apart, if you've taken the slide off even once, you know that. Slide it back on. Again, mag's empty, chamber's empty. We already saw that. Now, if this is the first time you're doing it and you haven't filed off that much material because you want it to be perfect, you're going to squeeze like this and nothing's going to happen. And now panic will set in. Oh my gosh, I can't strike the gun out. How am I going to get the slide off? I'm screwed. It's become a useless paperweight. No, don't panic. Or even worse, you're going to have to go to somebody who knows about guns someplace and you're going to look like an ass. No, it's not that bad at all. We put this plastic thing in so that you can get this tool in there. And here's what you're going to do. If you shine the light in there, shine a little flashlight in there, you'll see the firing pin kind of sticks down. So the back of the firing pin kind of sticks down like this, and the trigger has this little grippy part on it like that. So what you actually want to do is it kind of looks like this inside. You want to push this down so that the firing pin slides forward, and then you'll be able to get the trigger off. Important thing that nobody really mentions, keep your finger on the trigger, squeezing it gently, not like a mule, but you squeeze it a little bit, and as you're squeezing it, you reach in with this tool, get on top of the trigger, and you're going to push it down. Heard it click? We actually pushed it beneath the firing pin slid forward, gun's now been struck out, and you can do the magic. Get the slide off. Now, if you had to do that, if you had to stick this in the back of the slide, it means, hey, I didn't take enough off. You'll go through the same routine again. Take this pin off first. Throw it in a little container. Go to take this pin off. No, don't wail on it with a hammer. Remember, just jiggle the slide catch. Give it a little jiggle, 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 jiggle. Whoop, out she comes. Pin into your little magic bucket. Slide catch into your little magic bucket. Trigger pin. Whoop, pops out. Throw it in your little magic bucket. Take that out. Grab the trigger. Oh, well, you can take your block out first. Taking the block out isn't critical. It just makes the trigger easier to put back. Watch crap doesn't fly around. So you're going to take the trigger group out because I've taken all 3 pins out. That comes out. And there we are. And you're going to do the same thing we did before if you're filing it down more. Sorry about that. My kids made me sick. You're going to push, 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 and you're pushing that little connector out. See it start to come out? Push, 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 push. And make sure this is like loose. Take your little block. Boom. And you're going to file this area some more. So this thing, you're going to gradually file here, and it's going to get shorter. And it's eventually going to get short enough that the gun fires. You can actually squeeze the trigger and the trigger resets. What happens if you file too much? You can still shoot the gun, only after you squeeze the trigger, as you're squeezing, it releases the firing pin, and if you've taken too much off this, it lets the trigger go a tiny bit more back. Not the end of the world, but it's kind of cool. If the trigger squeeze it, firing pin releases, boom, trigger stops. And that's what I did. I filed just enough off here. After you're done filing, you're now going to have to clean this up with another file, clean your edges up. Do not knock them down completely. You just want to take any burrs off. You want to polish, and then what else are we going to polish? Polish, might as well just polish the whole thing. It's easier than me pointing out what you got to take off. And you're also going to, and again, this is Humans for Targets too. That guy's got a good video on what to polish and where. you're going to want to polish that. It comes right out. It's not a hard thing. You're eventually going to take this out and put the original one back, because we're kind of done screwing with the gun for today. Do not leave this in. Not so safe. And I'm going to put these pins in. I'm going to put these springs in as well. He's got Guns for Humans 2 has a great video on how to take the firing pin apart, so you can get one of these springs in. There's two of them. One says it's 6 pounds. One says it's 4 pounds. They're not actually related to the trigger pull itself. They're more related to the firing pin, how easy it goes. I'll probably use the longer spring. And there's two other springs in there. One of them is for the trigger itself. That's the spring that actually helps you pull back the trigger. That last one looks like it's for this safety, but I gotta see. Reduced power safety plunger spring. Yep, it is. Okay, I think that's good enough. I may make another video ripping this thing apart, but for now that gives you an idea of what you need to do, and you just keep working it. When you go to put this back in, you're going to put this back together. It goes in like this. If the spring falls apart, like if this somehow falls off the spring, key thing to remember, when you look at it from the right, like, you know, where all the stuff is, the spring should look like an S. Open part, S. And the open part for this side is over here. So open part of the spring. Apparently if it goes the other way, no good. That's about it. Good luck. Leave comments, leave concerns. Again, this is for the Ghost Evo Elite Trigger Kit. Make sure you get this. Make sure you put this on. If you don't have this and you don't put it on, like I said, I think at the beginning of the video, you can still get the slide off. You will need to bring it back, lock it back, and then you're going to play a little gunzoon of a deal, pushing it down and getting this out. Be careful when you take this off. Two things are going to want to spring out. One, the little plunger that holds the ejector, and two, the firing pin itself. That's it. Good luck. Have fun. Shoot more.